Hello, first grade writers. Happy Friday. Today, I get to help you with a little bit more of your small moment story. Yesterday, we wrote our cover page and our introduction. So far, you should have a cover page that has your title, your name, and your date, and a illustration. And then you should have completed your introduction page. Remember, this is the page that tells who was with you, where you were, and when your story takes place. Today, we're going to begin to look at the middle of our story. But before we do that, we are going to review the small moment checklist. So just like we had a checklist for informational stories, we are going to have a checklist for fiction stories or our small moment stories that we are working on writing right now. So let's start at the beginning. I'm going to put my head below what I'm going to explain, okay? So the first part of our small moment story checklist is this overall. So over here in this box, you see kind of the category or the topic. Overall, I have a beginning, a middle, and an end. My story lasts 2 to 10 minutes. So if you have chosen a seed story, then it will be 2 to 10 minutes. Yesterday, we wrote our beginning. Today, we're going to work on our middle. And this says lead next. Lead is the next category. Lead means the beginning or the introduction. You know how there's lots of different words that can sometimes stand for different things. Lead, introduction, and beginning all kind of stand for the same thing. Lead is the first part of a story. The lead. I told the characters and setting. So yesterday we wrote our lead. We wrote our introduction. We wrote our beginning. I told the characters and setting. The next thing we need to make sure that our story has is transitions. I have 2 or more transition words. So we're going to be talking about transition words as we write. The next thing down below my head now is the ending. I told my feelings or the lesson I learned. Below that is craft and elaboration. Craft is I give details to make my story come to life. And you see we've got lots of stars around there. And I like to tell my students that the stars represent sparkles because when you add craft to your story, you're adding sparkly words and things that help your reader really understand your story. Some examples of craft are labels and big bold words, but we'll learn more about that soon. The last thing here at the bottom, and I'm going to try to move this out of the way so you can see. I don't know if I can. The last thing is elaboration. I used adjectives, action words, twin sentences, and details to tell more. There it goes. I used adjectives, action words, and twin sentences to add details. So, are you adding adjectives? Notice there's lots of stars around adjectives because adjectives also make our story sparkly. Action words, verbs, and twin sentences. We learned about twin sentences when we were writing our informational stories. Okay, so now what I want to do is I got an old story from one of my students. And I made my head disappear, but you don't need to see me anymore. This was one of my students named Hudson, and I'm sharing this with you because this is a really great example of a small moment story. It was called My Best Football Game by Hudson, April 17th, 2018. He even put some labels on his front cover, the other team, and then me. And I love his little motion lines to show that he's running. This is his beginning or the lead. It was a cold day in spring. My mom, dad, and brother were watching me play football. And then I still see motion lines up there. And he said, I am cold. He's got a speech bubble. This is his beginning. He tells when it was in the spring. He tells who was there, mom, dad, brother, and he describes the weather. It was cold. This is his middle. The quarterback handed off to me. I got the ball and I ran. And this isn't traced over very well up here, but you see he's got a label of the quarterback and then me. Now his middle is 2 pages. This is his second page of his middle. I felt really happy and I felt like I was going to score a touchdown. I kept running and all of a sudden I scored a touchdown. And here he's got other team labeled and whoosh, he added a sound word and then he's labeled the football. Then his ending says, I learned to always be brave. I love this. So this is an example of another first grader's story. Now we're going to go to my story. This is the story that I began writing yesterday about my handstand. This was my beginning. Now I'm going to give you 2 examples of the middle choice. I wrote 2 different middles, and I want you to tell me which middle you think describes my story the best. Which middle creates the best picture for the reader? Here's choice 1. I did my first headstand. Here's choice 2. Choice 2 is actually 2 pages long. We were almost done with the class, and the teacher said we had free time to work on a headstand. She could see me in the Zoom meeting. I was doing something wrong. She told me what to fix. I fixed it, and my legs started to rise. I did it. Boys and girls, which choice do you think is the best? Choice number 1, I did my first headstand, or choice number 2? You're right. Choice number 2 includes the most details and tells the reader the most about what happened. Your job now is to try to explain what happened in your story using as many details as you can. Your middle section of your book may be more than 1 page. You might have to move it onto 2 pages, and that's okay. Your job today is to write the middle of your story. Please try to include as many details as you can. Please do not move on to the end of your story. We will do that another day. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I miss you all, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.